The CDC extends the eviction moratorium, but for the last time. I'm Zach Dodge with what a local judge has seen up to this point and what could happen after the moratorium does end. Coming up.
Search and rescue efforts continue in a deadly condominium collapse. I'm Steve Harrigan in Surfside, Florida. That story ahead.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. The federal evictions moratorium that's been in place since last September is extended through the end of July. CDC says it's going to be the last extension, however. KOAM Zach Dodge has what a local landlord thinks of this news and how it could impact a local court.
The federal ban on evictions has been extended for another 30 days. But at least for Newton and McDonald counties, that doesn't mean no evictions. 40th Circuit Court Associate Judge Christine Rhodes explains, at least in her district, the number of evictions has actually increased slightly since September of last year.
From what I see in my courtroom, the people taking advantage of that CDC moratorium those have not been in high numbers.
In the 40th District, tenants have to turn an affidavit into their landlord saying they can't pay because of the pandemic. Then the moratorium kicks in. If not, landlords can evict. Thursday, her docket included 5 rent in possession cases, one of them involving Sunnyvale Investment Properties out of Joplin, pushing through an eviction.
They didn't show up, so we got the full possession of the property.
Dwayne Smith, a partner with Sunnyvale, explains that they've tried to work with all of the tenants at their more than 300 properties, setting up payment plans and giving them breaks on rent. But she says some don't make an effort and actually damage properties while also being impacted by the pandemic. So Smith is ready for the moratorium to end.
We have these nice properties that are getting ruined by people that just don't care and aren't making an effort, and they're staying there. They're allowed to stay there, and we get nothing out of it but a loss in the end. So
we may have a line out the door, landlords ready to evict folks. I don't have a good idea of how many that will be. The hope is some of the tenants have been able to get back to work and pay up their rent, and they're able to stay. That would be my hope. I'm fairly certain that's not the case, though, in the vast majority. But we'll just have to wait and see for that.
In Newton County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Judge Rhodes also says she's talked to only one tenant who has taken advantage of rental assistance currently being offered by the state. If you want to learn more about that assistance program, you can find out more information on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Meteorologist Nick Kelly joining us now with the first look at the forecast. Bit windy today, Nick.
Has certainly kept the heat and humidity in place for today, that's for sure, Jordan. Even though it looks nice still outside at 9:03, I think that's picking up on actually clouds from thunderstorms way up to the north of the region. But a high of 94, hot and humid after we started at 74 this morning. I don't see anything on the radar in our immediate area, but just to the north, we have a severe thunderstorm watch because of these thunderstorms that I think are primarily going to graze us and just miss us to the north and east. I am keeping an eye on thunderstorms also out in western parts of Kansas and the eastern parts of Colorado. Those storms out west could try to graze us in the morning, but look at how warm it is. We only drop off to 78, but we'll have to watch for additional strong to severe storms in the afternoon ahead of us, Jordan. That's why we have an alert day out for tomorrow. We'll plan out what these storms might do for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night here in a bit.
Nick, thank you. At least one person is dead. 99 others remain unaccounted for after a condo collapsed near Miami, Florida. Now rescue crews are working to locate and save as many people as possible. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan has more now from Surfside, Florida.
Emergency crews combing through the rubble of a collapsed condo building near Miami, searching for people trapped underneath. More than 80 fire and rescue units are using canines, cameras, and sound equipment to search the debris of the Champlain Towers condos, their efforts resulting in dozens of rescues in the hours following the deadly incident.
We're going to do our very best to save as many people in that pile of rubble as we possibly can.
Around 1:30 Thursday morning, residents woke to a thunderous noise. The 12-story building splintered, exposing about half of the 130 units. The exact number of people inside at the time, unclear.
I could feel the ground shake. I mean, it sounded like thunder. I thought a storm was coming until, literally I felt the ground shake a second time when the other half of the building fell.
Concerned friends and loved ones are gathering at a nearby reunification center waiting for answers.
I have friends that live there. and they have no idea because they were in the South Tower. There's no news yet.
Authorities do not yet know what caused the sections of the condo to crumble, but work was being done on the roof. Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett says he does not believe that contributed to the collapse.
I know that they are going to have engineers looking at this to try to identify what happened. You're not going to have those answers immediately, but I know that they are diligently going to be working to be able to do that.
President Biden called the mayor of Miami-Dade and offered full federal support. In Surfside, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
New data suggests plastic face shields aren't getting the job done when it comes to protecting against COVID-19. Research presented at the European Congress of Clinical Microbiology and Infectious Diseases tested 32 types of masks, respirators, and shields to see how they contain tiny aerosol particles. Well, they found certified surgical masks offered the best filtration, while a face shield provided little to no protection at all. The Delta variant is threatening to slow progress made in fighting COVID-19. Strain could become dominant here in the U.S. and abroad within months. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott has more.
The Delta variant, first discovered in India, now taking hold in dozens of countries. In the U.S., it accounts for more than 20% of new infections, up from 10% just 2 weeks ago. This week, Dr. Anthony Fauci warned it could become America's dominant strain in a month. And health experts say the variant is spreading quickly among young, unvaccinated people.
When you look at the demographics of who's being hospitalized or who has more new cases, it's that demographic that's not getting vaccinated.
Public health officials warn the U.S. could follow the same track as the U.K. The Delta variant accounts for more than 90% of new cases here. The European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control expects to reach that threshold in the EU by late August. German Chancellor Angela Merkel warns Europe is on thin ice in its battle against the virus.
We need to remain vigilant. In particular, the newly arising variants, especially now the Delta variant, are a warning for us to continue to be careful.
Germany's leader is also warning against travel to countries where the variant is spreading, including the UK and India. This in contrast to officials here in Great Britain, where plans are underway to ease restrictions on foreign travel.
International travel is going to continue to be perhaps one of the more challenging areas in terms of resuming normal life, but we are all working towards that.
Health officials in India are now monitoring an even more contagious variant known as Delta Plus. In London, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Sandra Spencer served the U.S. Army from 1963 to 66, and we are proud to thank and salute Private First Class Sandra Spencer, native of Carthage, Missouri. She's tonight's four-state hero. Nick is on next with a complete look at the forecast, and a bit later, those Kansas City Royals aiming to take the series against those New York Yankees. Gonna have highlights in sports.
Hot and humid today. We'll do it again tomorrow despite thunderstorm chances eager to ramp up even more after we saw a little tease of what's to come earlier this morning and a couple of isolated little guys this afternoon. At least from outside of Seneca, Missouri, the view from Indigo Sky Casino and Resort kept things quiet for much of the day. In fact, most of you stayed pretty quiet, while during the morning hours some of our northern counties got grazed by some scattered storms and maybe a couple little guys right around the Kansas-Oklahoma border earlier this afternoon. Those rain chances didn't really amount to much. If we saw anything, it was no more than maybe half an inch at the worst. But in general, paltry compared to the rain chances that are on the way. At least we're not seeing anything in our immediate area right now on the radar network. But hot and humid today it was once again for sure. Upper 80s to near 90 yesterday, dropped back into the mid 70s this morning and right back into the mid 90s for this afternoon. Looking outside though from 7th and Range Line, it's quiet, but we're actually seeing the cloud cover from the storms way up north near Kansas City. We'll show you where they are on the wider view of the storm tracker in a moment, but it is warm, muggy and breezy. 85 degrees with a gusty wind at 26 out of the south, making it feel like 91. Thanks to the wind keeping dew points in the lower 70s. Everybody's in the middle 80s at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, but you factor in the humidity, it still feels like we're in the lower 90s at this point in our Thursday evening going into Thursday night. There's the thunderstorms that's bringing some of that cloud cover we picked up on the tower. These thunderstorms, I still think they're going to be grazing northern parts of Missouri along the I-70 corridor. A slim chance anything that backbuilding near Manhattan or Topeka might try to clip some of our northern counties, but early in the morning ahead of us, I think we'll get some of these guys to roll on in. I think in the weaker state, I don't think we'll see anything severe in the morning, but indicating an active setup on the way. All these thunderstorms out there now firing up along our warm front that actually stalled out across parts of Missouri. But this front to the north, that's our bigger, better shot for rain, in addition to more disturbances riding along our upper level ridge that will keep us hot and humid for one more day. Here's how we look for the rest of the night. I still think those storms, mainly around Kansas City, will stay north of us. Dry to start the overnight, but any of those storms that try to hold together out of western Kansas, they're going to try and graze our northern counties again like this morning. I don't think anything severe, but don't be surprised if you have some thunderstorms to start the morning out. But upper 70s, that's about as cool as we're going to get for the morning ahead. A dry time in the afternoon before we see some late afternoon storms begin to ramp up. 78 in the morning, 89 by noon, highs near 94. Before ahead of the front, we see a good band of showers and thunderstorms through 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and with more activity working in overnight. Now, the storms in the afternoon into tomorrow night, they have a low severe threat, mainly in our northwestern counties, but I'm going to focus on the storms between 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 11. I'm thinking wind, hail, and rain. Those are going to be our biggest threats we'll have to keep an eye on. So that is why we have Friday as a red alert day with highs around 94. We'll continue with this front sticking around Saturday, Sunday, and through a good portion of next week, Jordan. Unfortunately, while that keeps rain chances around, one positive way to look at it, 86 Saturday, lower middle 80s for a good portion of next week.
As you were saying, even though that sun is gone at nighttime, you can sort of feel that humidity still.
Yeah, this is not going to be a good night.
No. All right, Nick Kelly, thank you. All right. This next story is about a Pittsburgh police officer who responded to a call for a snake last night. What he expected was a garden snake. Not this, okay? Not this. It's a python. It was on a resident's front porch. Police say the 8-foot snake now has a new enclosed home with a responsible owner who lives outside of Pittsburgh. Coming up, some, with the emphasis on some, common ground in D.C.
President Biden says there's a deal on infrastructure. I'm Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. That story coming up.
President Biden making a big announcement as a deal has been struck on an infrastructure bill. Fox News correspondent Chad Pergram has more from Capitol Hill.
To answer the direct question, we have a deal.
Reaction pouring in after a bipartisan Senate accord on an infrastructure bill. A group of 10 Democrats and 11 Republicans forged the pact. Some Democrats were skeptical. They said the overall size of the package falls just short of expectations.
I think it is way too small, paltry, pitiful, and I will insist on a second package that not only addresses more roads, bridges, and other tangible assets, but also human infrastructure.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi echoes that criticism. She says the House won't vote on any infrastructure bill until the Senate first addresses concerns from liberals.
There won't be an infrastructure bill unless we have a reconciliation bill.
The bipartisan group of senators sat down with the president Thursday to put the final touches on the agreement. The latest deal includes $953 billion in infrastructure funding over 5 years. That includes $559 billion in new spending.
The investments we'll be making as a result of this deal are long overdue.
West Virginia Democrat Joe Manchin says it came down to President Biden and his negotiators to finalize the agreement.
President Biden is the ultimate person that will have to sign off on this to make sure he's comfortable. And he wants a bipartisan deal. He said that from day one.
The Senate goes first on the deal. The Senate is prepping the bipartisan plan, plus a gigantic companion bill stocked with Democratic priorities. The House won't touch either bill until the Senate's done sometime in July. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Up next, questioning a military strategy.
President Biden campaigned on bringing American troops home from Afghanistan. That's on track to happen by mid-September, despite growing evidence of a Taliban resurgence. I'm Steve Rappaport in New York. I've got details coming up.
As many as 751 unmarked graves have been discovered at a former residential school in Saskatchewan, Canada. The bodies were discovered at the Maryvale Indian Residential School, which operated from 1899 to 1997. Those of you who have been to Saskatchewan know of Saskatchewan. This is in the Quapaw Valley. Investigators can't confirm if all the unmarked graves contain children. The announcement comes weeks after more than 200 unmarked burial sites were discovered at a residential school in British Columbia. After almost 20 years of fighting, the troops are coming home from Afghanistan after orders from President Biden. In this edition of our Biden Impact series, Fox's Steve Rappaport takes a look at the situation they're leaving behind and whether the Afghan military is ready to stand on its own.
They're leaving behind a country in conflict.
A blunt assessment from former Afghan President Hamid Karzai as U.S. troops make their final preparations to end America's longest war. President Biden pulling all combat troops from Afghanistan after 2 decades, keeping a promise made by 3 other presidents. But a growing number of critics say the job isn't finished, the country isn't secure, and the Taliban is still the main military power.
The campaign was not against extremism or terrorism. The campaign was more against Afghan villages and homes.
There are serious concerns about the state of Afghanistan's defense forces, which are struggling to keep the Taliban from advancing on major cities. The military says it will be able to hold its own when the U.S. pulls out, but there's a tough fight ahead. In addition to the troops, America is also withdrawing its air support, leaving Afghan forces in a vulnerable position as the fighting rages on. The Taliban have already retaken more than 50 districts from government forces since May, and the UN Special Envoy recently warned of dire consequences if American troops leave now.
The war is at its peak here. They are leaving, saying that Afghanistan is safe now, but I don't think it's safe.
Ultimately, neither side is expecting the violence to end when America leaves, with both the Taliban and the Afghan forces saying they're in the fight for the long run.
There will be no security vacuum or gap in Afghanistan.
As part of the withdrawal agreement, the Pentagon is spending $4 billion a year to fund the Afghan military through 2024. In New York, Steve Rappaport, Fox News.
Coming up, going to check out one pretty cool birthday party, okay? For a gorilla. Pretty deserving of it, too, when you're the oldest gorilla dude around. The world's oldest living male gorilla celebrating a landmark birthday. Right there. Ozzy, the oldest male gorilla on record, turned 60. The lowland gorilla celebrated his monumental day with a special cake courtesy of his caretakers over at the Zoo Atlanta. The multi-tiered dessert was made especially for the birthday boy with frozen fruit and other treats. Doesn't that sound good on a day like today? Frozen fruit. Ozzy's species of western lowland gorillas are actually considered critically endangered. So, even more so, Ozzy, happy birthday. Enjoy that cake, man. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
Pittsburgh Community Middle School could be getting some major upgrades, but that's only if Pittsburgh voters sign off on them. Details are coming up.
The vice president is heading to the U.S.-Mexican border, and so is the former president. I'm Caroline Shadley in Washington. I'll have details straight ahead.
Pittsburgh Community Middle School turns 100 years old in 2021. The school board has decided it's time for some major renovations, but that's only if Pittsburgh voters agree with them. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to the USD 250 superintendent to learn more.
Hayden King is a Pittsburgh Community Middle School alumnus who thinks current students would drastically benefit if the school was renovated and upgraded.
Not only would they be able to go to this half, but they'd actually be able to use the rest of the school. Like, I feel like it's not really valuable to the students at all if they just get to look at the rest of the building.
Hayden is referring to the fact that a lot of the school's west side isn't utilized by students. But if the USD 250 school board gets its wish, that could change.
It was built in 1921, so it's 100 years old. And the architects and engineers that have been in there are telling us that the structure is very, very solid, and it is primed for renovation so that we can keep historic value and also turn it into a 21st century learning space.
The school board has voted to hire Joplin architecture firm Corner Greer & Associates, who will eventually come up with conceptual designs for new parts of the school that can help staff teach students new things.
We are a growing school district and a growing community, and we do need a little bit of space, but really more of the plan right now is to meet the ongoing needs of career exploration and preparation.
But some big changes inside the school doesn't mean its iconic castle-like appearance is going anywhere.
What you see on the outside is really what we want you to see on the outside when the project is done.
But in order for the project to even start, it has to be approved by Pittsburgh voters, since the school board is hopeful they'll fund the renovations with a bond referendum.
We're trying to look at this so that we can go in at a $0 mill increase. And so we're taking care of some space needs, we're taking care of educational needs, we're taking care of a building which is iconic, and we can do it at potentially no cost to the taxpayers.
Pittsburgh taxpayers will be able to decide for themselves when they vote on the middle school bond referendum, which is currently being worked on for the upcoming November elections or a special January election. In Pittsburgh, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Pittsburgh voters passed a 2017 bond issue which gave the school district $31 million for projects at multiple schools. Superintendent Profit says the bond issue being worked on by the school board would specifically be aimed at Pittsburgh Community Middle School. Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt is running for governor of the Sunflower State next year. He was in Pittsburgh today and caught up with us for an interview. We asked him how he thought Kansas was doing as a state and what he would like to see change.
I talk about it in terms of we want to grow the state, not the state government, and I think that's a really important point. I think there are other things that are perhaps more mundane, but when neglected and left untended to, become real problems for real people in Kansas. For example, the decades of neglect of the unemployment compensation computer system that turned out to be a terrible debacle.
Schmidt, a Republican, is going to face former Governor Jeff Collier and businessman Chase Laporte in the primary. There's new tenants occupying the former Cox Health Building over in Monette, Missouri. Life 360 Community Service is taking over the Monette Hospital. Plans are still in the works, but Life 360 hopes to use the facility for mental health services, foster care services, crisis pregnancy, nutrition services, youth and child care with an on-site preschool, employment services, education, a community meeting space, and more.
This space will be a variety of activity. We have about 15 nonprofits that are interested in having some sort of presence here, whether that's just a simple office or it's actual clinical space with Crisis Pregnancy Center.
The building served as Cox Hospital for 70 years. The Rotary Club of Joplin hosted its annual charity golf scramble back in May. Today, the club donated more than $25,000 to area charities from that money raised during that golf scramble. The money goes to Pro Musica, the Community Clinic, Children's Haven, and the Alliance of Southwest Missouri. Memorial Day to Labor Day are the 100 deadliest days on Kansas roads for teenagers. The AAA Foundation of Traffic Safety says new drivers are 3 times more likely than adults to be involved in a deadly crash during that period. There's a few common factors. Teen drivers are not wearing a seatbelt, they're speeding, or distracted. Also, just having more teens on the road increases the chances they're going to be involved in a wreck.
Kids are out of school. They're going to the beaches, they're going to the playgrounds, and then also we have to factor in that the days are longer. So daylight is longer. That means more kids are on the roads driving.
More than 7,000 people died in crashes involving teen drivers from 2010 to 2019. So many of us have heard of baby booms during especially difficult times, right? This pandemic is turning out the opposite, though. Listen to this. Coronavirus pandemic produced a significant drop in U.S. birth rates in 2020. That's according to new federal data. A report for the National Vital Statistics System says birth rates fell over the course of the coronavirus pandemic throughout last year, falling by 8% in December. From 2018 to 2019, the number of births declined for 9 months of the year, with declines ranging from 1% to 3%. Cute baby. Vice President Kamala Harris is heading to the U.S.-Mexico border tomorrow, following weeks of criticism for not going earlier, despite the president having tapped into her to lead efforts to stem migration. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively is in D.C. with these details.
Just get there already. That's the message from Republicans to the vice president, calling the situation at the border a catastrophe that can only be understood if you see it for yourself.
91 days ago, she was named as border czar in charge of the border crisis, and she demonstrated strong leadership by doing not a damn thing.
Vice President Kamala Harris heads to El Paso, Texas on Friday as part of the administration's effort to find out why so many people from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras are illegally entering the U.S. Plus,
to continue to address the root causes and work in coordination to get the situation under control.
Harris has not only drawn fire from the right about immigration, but she's also taking flack from the left for saying this a few weeks ago to people thinking of sneaking into the U.S.
Do not come.
A new Fox poll out last night shows that 50% of voters approve of the overall job she's doing, while 47% disapprove. That rating is several points below where President Biden stands. But when it comes to immigration, only 41% of voters approve of President Biden's job performance, while 54% disapprove. Republicans see it as a real weak spot for Democrats ahead of next year's elections.
All of this activity on the border is because Joe Biden stood up there and said, hey, y'all come. We're hanging the welcome sign out.
On Wednesday, former President Trump heads to the border with a group of House Republicans and the Texas governor. The White House says the timing of the VP's visit has nothing to do with Mr. Trump's trip. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
A little later, selling your house on the down low.
I'm in Miami Beach. This house behind me on sale for a mere $34.9 million. But would a whisper listing help sell it? A listing that the public doesn't know about. I'll explain right after the break.
Hot and humid today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Even with thunderstorm chances eager to ramp up with our next storm system ready to roll on in. It was quiet, at least from Indigo Sky Casino and Resorts perspective outside of Seneca, Missouri. Cloud cover throughout the day at times, but that did not stop us from getting out of the mid-70s this morning and into the mid-90s this afternoon. And some of you did have to deal with at least some scattered storms this morning, mainly in our northern counties, and a few isolated storms in the afternoon right along the Kansas-Oklahoma border. But for much of the evening, we have been dry, but this radar is going to get quite a workout over the next several days with all these rain chances lining up. We're quiet right now, 7th in range line, but even though it looks nice, it does not feel nice at all. 85 in Joplin, that south wind is 17 gusting to 26. Not only is that keeping the temperature up late on this Thursday night, it's keeping the dew point in the lower 70s as well. That's why it feels like 91 outside. And it's not just Joplin. Everyone's in the mid 80s right now. And then you factor in the humidity, it feels like we're all against the bare skin, at least in the lower 90s. And we're not going to cool off much tonight with that south wind still in play. I'm thinking only upper 70s. That's about it in terms of cooling things down for the night. That being said, I am keeping an eye not just on this cluster of thunderstorms trying to graze northeast sides of the Kansas City area. I really think much of this activity will not be an issue for us. Look out to the west, though. Another complex of storms really getting its act together now right on the Kansas-Colorado line. That's some activity that could skirt nearby by the time we get into your Friday morning. All this thunderstorm action forming along a front that stalled out. That actually came through as a warm front today, but this front to the north, that's poised to bring in much better widespread rain chances. In addition to the upper levels undergoing a change. The upper ridge is going to buckle down once we get past tomorrow's highs back in the mid-90s. And all these upper level waves, they'll all play a role in the forecast to keep rain chances around for the next several days. Again, I'm thinking the bulk of those storms near Kansas City and northern Missouri will make a run near the I-70 corridor towards St. Louis by the time we get to about 3 in the morning. But the storms out west, they could clip some of our northern counties. I don't think these will be severe, but Michael Hasel will be watching them as we get your Friday morning commute started. But a warm, muggy Friday morning commute started with lows in the upper 70s. A little break around lunchtime with temperatures near 90, but before we see any thunderstorms really get going for Friday afternoon, it is going to be another hot and humid one. 78 in the morning, 89 by noon, highs around 94. Now these thunderstorms are ahead of that next front to the north that will roll on through. And look at how these really fire up at 7 o'clock and try to slowly work south and east before we deal with just plain old regular rain and storms going into Saturday morning. With that said though, the storms for the afternoon and much of Friday night, our northwestern counties will have a low severe threat between 3 and 11. Wind, hail, and rain. I think those are the biggest threats. If we see any changes, not only will Michael Hastel keep an eye on that, but so will Doug Hetty as we go throughout your Friday. So remember, with the severe threat, Friday's an alert day with the thunderstorm chances in the afternoon and evening. Highs are 94. Even though the rain chances with our stubborn front stick around for about the next several days, Jordan, it will thankfully keep us out of the heat. Lower to middle 80s for the most part.
Lots of clouds on that graphic.
Absolutely, and a lot of rain too.
A lot of rain. Nick Kelly, thank you. Hey, seems the NFL needs an assist. They want more people watching games and TV shows. And according to the Wall Street Journal, the organization has hired Goldman Sachs to explore media partnerships. Properties like NFL Network, Red Zone, and NFL.com. The move comes months after the NFL inked several TV and streaming rights deals valued at over $100 billion. Coming up in sports, Royals and Yankees finishing up their series in New York. And Pittsburgh American Legion Baseball hitting the field for day one of the Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Not having Matt Newberry has been an incredible blow to the American Legion baseball program here. Not to just us, but everybody around him that knew him.
The Pittsburgh American Legion Baseball is hosting its inaugural Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament beginning tonight. And Newberry passed away in November. Of course, he was a part of our family here at KOAM and was a big part of the Post-64 program, from social media to PA to game day programs and more. The team says they wanted to start this tournament to make sure they take time every year to recognize his contributions to the program.
Matt brought so much to the table that it's one of those truly you don't know what you got until it's gone, and this was a perfect example of that. You never want to take anything for granted. This is the way we can celebrate on our program the life of Matt Newberry every year, so people remember him, and continue to come out and support the program as best they can, show their support, and help us grow each year.
Now to the games. Pittsburgh playing its first game tonight, facing the complete game Sander team out of Kansas City. First inning, Shea Munkin back up the middle for the base hit for Pittsburgh. He will get stranded though. Cam Lawson gets out of the inning for the strikeout. Then Isaac Elkins, his first K of the game in the bottom half, keeps Sander off the board. This one, late start, still scoreless in the top of the fourth. The Kansas City Royals wrap up their three-game series with the New York Yankees tonight. The two teams have split the first two, with the Yankees winning 6-5 on a walk-off last night. Kansas City tries to bounce back and take the series this afternoon. The Yankees, though, brought the big bats today. In the first, Aaron Judge, solo homer off Brad Keller, his 16th. Royals in an early hole. Second inning, more from Judge. This time just a single. Aaron Judge 3 for 3, 2 RBIs today. Yankees up 3. But they're not done. Next inning, Luke Voigt's turn to go deep. That's a solo shot. His third pushes the lead to 4. And just for good measure, Gary Sanchez with 2 on, 3-run jack. The Yankees take the game and the series, winning tonight 8-1. The St. Louis Cardinals open up a series against the Pirates tonight. And the Cards have been awful at the plate lately. They've scored 4 total runs in the last 3 games. Tonight they've only scored 1. They're down 7-1 in the top of the 8th. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
A record pace in Miami, Florida, and that includes houses that are never even listed. They're called whisper listings. Fox Business Network's Ashley Webster is at one of those whisper listings in Miami Beach.
I'm in ritzy Palm Island, which is a very expensive area of Miami Beach. And right here, this home here is worth, well, they're asking $34.9 million. It's been on the market for a number of years. And yes, a so-called whisper listing was used where it isn't advertised publicly. It belongs to a particular broker, a particular agent who has a small circle of clients who they believe might be interested. The theory being is the seller doesn't want to go public, doesn't want their privacy disturbed, and they don't want, frankly, strangers coming in and out of their house. It has been successful. We are seeing it pick up in popularity, 2% in 2019, 4% now for whisper listings here in 2021. Let me bring in Realtor Liz Hogan. She's with Compass Realtor. She specializes in luxury homes. Liz, whisper listing didn't particularly work that well in this case.
No, we had it on the market, off the market in a whisper listing for several months and really didn't get the action that we needed, so we went ahead and listed the property just recently.
Look, you've been in this business for a long time. Have you ever seen the scale of demand that you're seeing right now?
Nothing like this ever in 18 years that I've been doing this job. It is absolutely incredible what is going on here.
And is it slowing down?
Not slowing down at all. We expect somewhat of a slowdown during the summer, only because some of the super wealthy people are heading off to the Hamptons or Aspen or wherever else they're going. But the local economy is booming, and we really expect them all to come back in the fall, plus more.
Plus more. All right. Thank you very much, Liz. I appreciate it. So if you have some cash lying around and you're interested in a property here on Palm Island in Miami Beach, there's a home available for you. But the lack of homes has certainly hurt not only the realtors, but everyone involved. When you can't find a home to sell, you're not making the commissions. And, of course, the people who want to buy homes just can't find them. Whisper listings are certainly one option, but don't count on finding the home you actually want first time around. In Miami Beach, Florida, Ashley Webster, Fox Business.
Don't you wish you had a house in the Hamptons, huh? Up next, going to check out the latest actress to play a Disney princess. Hollywood Nation coming your way. Rachel Zegler channels her inner Disney princess, and the Suicide Squad coordinates a fake leak for the film's new trailer. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has the latest in the Hollywood Nation.
Let's meet your team.
More hype from the Suicide Squad. Martin investigates a murder, and Zegler books her next lead role in the Hollywood Nation. Rachel Zegler has landed the role of an iconic Disney princess, months ahead of making her feature film debut in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. The actress will play Snow White in the studio's upcoming live-action remake of its animated classic. Production on the film is set to start in 2022.
How well do you know your neighbors?
Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez band together to investigate a crime in Hulu's Only Murders in the Building. The streamer released a new trailer featuring the trio of stars playing true crime-obsessed neighbors attempting to solve a murder in their exclusive Upper West Side apartment building. The comedy mystery series premieres August 31st.
Suicide. Well, that's kind of our thing.
The cast of The Suicide Squad gave fans another look at James Gunn's upcoming film by dropping a new leaked trailer on YouTube. They hyped up the fake leak for a couple of hours early Tuesday, but Warner Brothers and Gunn eventually made the new visuals available for everyone to see. The almost 2.5-minute clip sets up the team of villains' mission and introduces Idris Elba's character, Bloodsport. It arrives in theaters and HBO Max on August 6th.
Let's get it.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of Christ the Redeemer statue in Rio de Janeiro. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.